And now I am eager to call on stage someone that I admire so much. So as a product leader coach, she empowers teams and leaders to achieve their goals by focusing on strengths and helping them view themselves as a product. She has a deep understanding on various industries through her extensive consulting and in-house product leadership experience. And also, I heard that she is working on a children's book about product management that I can't wait to read. So, a big round of applause for Tami Reiss that will join us here today with the topic, The Only 3 Questions You'll Ever Need. Tami.
Good morning, everyone. This is actually my second time in Lisbon. I was here for the first Web Summit in 2016. I'm a very big fan of your city. So thank you, Radhika, for teeing this up so nicely. How can you focus on that vision, etc.? So I'm going to simplify this and life for you into 3 questions. These are legitimately the only 3 questions you need, and I've tested them on other people, and they're like, yeah, I guess that would really help. So hopefully, by the end of this, you will say, yeah, I can simply focus on 3 things and not worry about quadrants or otherwise, unless I'm getting more detailed, which is great. So I call this also leadership made simple. So how did this come about? The original question for many, many years of my life has been, what exactly do product managers do? What's a product manager? And I've always responded for the last, let's just call it 12 years, in the same way. We're the people who decide what to do next. We're the people you want in a room to decide what to do next. We figure that out by communicating inwards. We ask questions, we learn from customers, we learn to prioritize, and then we choose what's next, what's at the top of that priority list. That's our main role at most companies, deciding what to do next. But the question became, how do we do that? So that is where our 3 questions come in. And our 3 questions are, where do we want to go? Where do we want to go? Where are we coming from? And where should we go next? And if you're thinking this might seem a little familiar, these really are the 3 most important questions for product management, leadership, life, and they come from Google Maps. It's a good place for them to come from. More than 10 billion downloads, #1 travel app of all time. And I actually figured out that Google Maps was aligned with my vision on this. I was teaching Melissa Perry, who will be speaking later. I've worked with her for years, and through Product Institute, her online course, I get to coach small groups. And one of our small groups is a product management rotational program. Brand new product people. They're coming from all different places or straight out of university, don't really know what product is. And I was trying to connect the dots for them about what it was. And I said, it's sort of like Google Maps. Your first thing you do is you choose your destination, and then it went from there. So this is now, the inspiration for this talk comes from that particular client. They got a free version of it. A little bit about me. I'm going to answer the 3 questions for you. Where do I want to go? What is my vision? I want to help product people at all levels be awesome and get recognized for it. That's the only thing I do. I work with product people like you, help them be awesome. Where am I coming from? I've got lots of product experience, and I founded the Product Leader Coach a few years ago. I do product training for Product Institute, as I just mentioned. I also do group coaching through Product Collective and Women in Product. Different levels of people. Product Leader Coach, executives. Corporate trainer, first-time product people. Group coaching, mid-career. And then I get to talk to people like you, which is also part of what I do. Where am I going next? I want to just help people be awesome. I want to help more of you. So I'm coming to Europe. And I'm working on this children's book. It's called, What Do Product Managers Do? What do product managers do? A primer for aspiring PMs of all ages and parents who aren't sure it's a real job. Because I can't handle how many times my dad has mentioned that I'm a project manager. It's been almost 20 years, people. All right, well, so if you scan that QR code, you'll be brought to my website and you can sign up to find out when the book is gonna launch. The last time I did this, actually where's João Moida? He's here somewhere. Not yet, oh, he's late. It's because he got a preview. So when I interviewed on his podcast, the Productized podcast, he offered to, or Andres, was it you who translated it into? Andres translated it into Portuguese. So our second language that will come out will be Portuguese, thanks to Andres. So this is Sue. She's buzzing around the buzzwords of product management. But where are we going today? So we're going to talk about the 3 questions as they apply to product. We're going to talk about the 3 questions as they apply to leadership and your life. I promise we'll get to that part. So where do we want to go? Where are we coming from? And where should we go next? I shortened it. Too many words. Where to, where from, where next. Everyone say it with me. Where to, where from, where next. One more time. Where to, where from, where next. All right, now you're professionals. So where to centers on the vision that Radhika so expressed was important. I could not agree more, and it is incredibly absent in countless companies. Where to? What is our vision? Where from? That's where analytics comes into play. Product operations, right? What Melissa's going to be talking about. The analysis of where we are right now, which is our vision's over there. This is where we are now. Where next? It's our strategy. How are we going to get all the way over here to this vision? Because a vision is a future that doesn't exist yet. So, question number 1, where do we want to go? This can be called a vision, a mission, goals, objectives, outcomes, intents. I don't care what word you use for it. I just want you to be something you want the future to hold. That you as a company, that you as a product team, that you as an individual, that you as a family, that you as a team want to go. It's a future that you want. Not something you think should happen, but you actually want it to happen. All of these words, they help create focus on that end destination. My favorite word for it is North Star. Maybe it's because I'm a sailor and I like the navigational theme. I don't know. But I think North Star is great because Vasco da Gama, right? Circumnavigated the globe. How did he do that? With a North Star. He found his way to India, right? So not circumnavigated, but found his way to India. Spices, they were kind of important back in the 1500s, in case you're wondering. So North Star, literally, you could be in the middle of the wide ocean, no land in sight. You look up, I see the North Star. Based on this cool, interesting Septuagint tool from the ancient, I can figure out where I am and where I'm going. Based on a little tiny dot in the sky. That's what a North Star is. Wherever you are, you can see it and you can figure out where you need to go based on that. So, this future vision is how we want to serve our customers, partners, stakeholders, right? Differently. It's an important word. Differently than what we do today. That future is different than now. And in order to understand how do we get what that next step is, because we're product people and we decide what to do next, we have to understand how do we currently serve them. So our starting point, when you're talking about Google Maps, what is the default starting point? It's your current location, right? You can change that because you're planning for the future, but your default is where are we right now? That's your starting point. And Melissa, in Escaping the Build Trap, talks about this. She calls it the current state. And you must understand your current state through quantified measurements before you start on your vision. Before work starts towards your vision. So don't start deciding what to do next. Don't start building a strategy and plan until you figure out where are you now. Because you can see your North Star, we have to know where you are. So, old school business. I'm not all about the new stuff. SWOT analysis. Who here has ever done a SWOT analysis? Yeah, you might have thought it was old school, you didn't need it anymore. I actually think it's pretty strong, mainly because it helps you think both internally about yourself, your strengths and your weaknesses, and externally about the opportunities and threats. Because when you're trying to figure out how am I supposed to get there, this is part of helping you analyze where am I right now. There's a guy named Nikolaj Siggelko. Connected Strategy is not as well read as many of the other books that we talk about, but I got to work with him at Wharton, and he added something really unique to talking about strategy for me. And that is that it's only considered a strategic decision if it's going to leverage your own competitive advantages. And how will you know your competitive advantages unless you understand where you are now? What are our unique selling propositions? What are our unique strengths? Because that's how we differentiate ourselves in the market. What is our kingdom that we need to protect, and how can we build on top of that foundation? So we've gone through 2 questions. Where do we want to go? Where are we coming from? And it's time to figure out where should we go next. So unfortunately, this is where most people start. You get asked a question, should we do something? And you think about feasibility questions. What's the next step and how to get there, right? I'm going. But I incredibly emphasize to you, start with number 1, where do we want to go? Figure out where you are now before you get to where should we go next. Because when you contemplate those other questions, you don't get stuck in the immediate options that you come up with feasible. So don't start with where should we go next, start with the other 2. Because when you start with those other 2, you realize there's actually tons of different options on how to reach that vision. And yeah, it's going to be a big investment into customer discovery. But your path may not be direct, and there may be very many unknowns, but hopefully you're going to get to that vision because you've kept it in mind the entire time. So sometimes you might go a little left and a little right, but as long as you have this concept of your North Star and where you're going, you will eventually hit there. More old school business stuff. Michael Porter, classic business goal book. Porter's generic strategies. So these are general categories of where should we go next. But when I worked with Melissa, we came up with this. Where should we go next? Most product strategies fall into 3 categories. Increase revenue, protect your revenue, decrease churn, right? Improve customer satisfaction, or reduce costs. So you have to decide where within these 3 do we want to go. Are we trying to increase revenue? Are we trying to protect revenue? Or reduce costs? And we came up with 16 strategies for growth, me and the team. You can scan that also. There's a nice article and deck about all these different options. These are legitimately the full 16 things you could do when you're thinking about growth. And they're categorized. But where should we go next? If you were in Google Maps, you got options. Public transportation. You could walk there. We could ride a bike. You can hail an Uber. This is the build, buy, partner question in product strategy. Should we build it? Should we buy it? Should we partner? Right? So once you've chosen where you want to go, you understand where you are now, and you've chosen one of these strategies of increasing revenue and how you're going to do that, you then have to decide, build, buy, partner. Should I take public transit? Should I hire an Uber? Right? And so I ask you a question. Should we open a kindergarten? But really, this is the same question as any product service expansion question. Should we do this extra thing? And that's often the first question that gets asked. Should we do this? And then we're like, oh, okay. What questions might you ask? Well, do we have a teacher for the kindergarten? Do we have a classroom for the kindergarten? But in fact, you should be asking the 3 questions. Where to? Where do we want to go? Where from? Where are we now? And where next? Because should we open a kindergarten will lead to those feasibility questions instead of the valuability question. Is this valuable to us? Right? If I am a daycare center, where I am now is different than if I'm in an elementary school or if I'm a college. The reasons why a college might want to open a kindergarten to serve their university teachers is different than an elementary school, is different than a daycare center, is different than someone who's just fed up with the current educational options. But they each have different visions, and they need to figure out, does opening a kindergarten fit with that? And so if they answer those questions and the answers are all yes, you make it happen. Test and launch, build, measure, learn. If it's in line with your vision, if you understand where you're coming from, and it is the right next step. It's about choosing, is this the right next step to help me get closer to my vision? If it's no, don't do it. That's what focus is all about. Radhika mentioned this, say no. That's what part of strategy is, say no. If it doesn't fit into your vision, if it doesn't fit into your current strengths, if it isn't part of your strategic intents for your strategy, don't do it. Say yes to very few ideas. This is what's called a sand key diagram. Ideas can come from the left side. Customers, your customer office, which could be customer success or otherwise, executive leaders, sales team, portfolio marketing, your product and dev team. But they all map somewhere, and very few make it into the backlog. Because some things aren't valuable to our customers. Some things are not in line with our vision. Some things are not part of our current strategy, our current strategic intents. And some things fit yes to all of those, but then when we talk to the engineering team, we realize there isn't enough payoff. The ROI isn't there. There's too much vision debt or technical debt. So, everyone feel like they understand the 3 questions pretty well? We're ready for some leadership. So how does this work with leadership? Leadership is actually knowing which of the 3 questions you should answer. Because a leader will never answer all 3 questions. So depending on the scenario you're in, you have to figure out which of the 3 questions are my responsibility. So, Marty Kagan, Empowered. I love this book for product leaders. If you're thinking about becoming a product manager, or director, or group PM, or CPO, read the book. It actually has some really solid examples. And what he talks about is how do you empower your team? And empowerment actually means I'm not going to answer all the questions for you. Your job is to answer some of the questions. And so here are some real scenarios. Strategic planning, organizational changes, and annual planning. So in a strategic planning, your executives are in charge of where to. You as a CPO or other product leader is in charge of where next. The where from is informed by market research, business ops, data, et cetera. If you're dealing with an organizational change, you want to change a process, you want to change the team structure, your job is to figure out where to. What do you envision your team doing? What will they be able to do by themselves? You coordinate with cross-functional leadership to understand what problems do we currently have with the current structure or current process. And where next, you actually let the team leadership, so you and other people, decide where to go next. If you're doing annual planning, again, you actually have to do strategy deployment where you communicate to the other product people that you as a leader are setting this as the vision for next year, for next quarter, for the next 3 years, whatever that timeline is. They then get informed through data, ideas from their individual teams, customers, sales, prospects. And then it's up to the team manager, whatever that is, whether that's a product manager, and this could also work for marketing or sales or otherwise. Leadership sets the goal. They say, this is where we want to go, and other members have to figure out how to get there. Other members have to analyze, where are we now? So we call this strategy deployment. It helps us focus. The map is wide, so we help you focus. We give clear targets, we give objectives, we give frameworks, we give guidelines, we give constraints, and they all help the team decide where to go next. And if there's conflict, because not everything is always so clear, your job is not to answer the question. This team wants to go left, this other team wants to go right. It is not up to you to decide whether it's left or right. It is up to you to remind them, where do we want to go? And help them analyze which of the options is going to be most valuable, which is most in line with our vision, which will help us get there faster. Adam Harmitz is over at Microsoft. He's a friend of mine from university. He came up with this, and I love it. It's the product leader's serenity prayer. Give me the patience to let current experts make the call. Empowerment. Give me the strength to chart new courses when patterns are shifting. Leadership, setting a vision. Give me the wisdom to know the difference. give me the ability to know which of the 3 questions I'm supposed to answer, which are my responsibility versus somebody else. But I said life. So we've covered products, and we've covered leadership. But it's time to talk about life. I promised you, you only had to know these 3 questions, and your whole life would be figured out. So, your career. Where do you want to go? Not where does somebody else tell you is the right job or the right future for you. Where are you coming from right now? What are your strengths? Get some 360 feedback. Understand what other people think you're good at. Understand what other people think makes you happy. Talk to your family. They know what's good when you come home from work. Where do you go next? Where should your next role be? Is it within your own company? Is it a lateral move? Is it a totally new industry? I know there are a number of people here who are thinking about becoming product people, and you're coming from disparate places like photography and medicine and other things. I was an event planner. My first job was an event planner fundraiser. My undergraduate degree is in physiological science. No one thought this is where my future was. I'm not even sure I knew this was where my future was. But I can tell you that while I was a product manager, I thought my future was to be a CPO because other people told me that's what I was supposed to want, or to be a VP of product. It turns out I'm actually really good at helping other people be awesome. That's one of my strengths. I see the patterns for other people. I help them do what's right. So that's the right next role for me, is doing what I'm doing right now, because I'm uniquely qualified. Because for a really long time, I used to feel bad about the fact that I never stayed at a job for more than a year and a half. But it turned out I had seen 50 companies by the time I was 35. Because I had done consulting and otherwise. And you know what's great about that? When you have that breadth of knowledge, you can actually start establishing patterns and give advice to people because you've seen different things. So that was one of my unique strengths that I thought was a weakness. And depending on the market, it is a weakness. It doesn't make me an ideal candidate to be a VP of product. I have been. It doesn't make me an ideal candidate for most people. I don't have the street cred for that, but I have the street cred to consult with anybody, to coach anybody. So when I'm coaching, I use something called the GROW model. Understand your goal. Where do you want to go? Reality. What is your current reality? Where are you now? Understand your options about where you're going to go next. Choose one. Go do it. So if you're working as an executive leader, this is what your 360 might look like. These are some things that a CEO or CRO or your board might say. They provide the wrong level of detail. They probably will say you don't have executive presence, but that's what they mean. But when you focus on your strengths, your unique selling propositions, your unique value propositions, your specific skills and experience, you can get closer to your goals. So, you want to go back to that? Someone wants to take a picture and I want to stop you. So 3 questions for your life. Where to, where from, where next? Everyone ready? Where to? Great. Vacation. It's my favorite thing to do. So, where to? What are our goals of vacation? How many people, when they go on vacation, it's because someone just came back from someplace else and they really liked it? Oh, I just heard, this is really great. The Azores, oh yeah, they went someone hiking, this was great. Oh, they visited Paris, they came back with the most beautiful dress. Oh, they went to the United States and they went to San Francisco and they drove down the coast. They had a fantastic time. Does it align with where you want? What are your goals of vacation? Do we want to visit family members? Is there a specific event that this is correlated with? Am I trying to reconnect with old friends from university or younger? Am I trying to get away from my kids? Or anything else? Where from? Where am I now? What's my current situation? What's my budget? Are there countries on my hit list or places on my hit list I'd like to go to? Do I have an option for childcare? Can the grandparents take care of it or not? What's my tolerance for safety, for costliness, for travel time? How long am I willing to be on an airplane? Am I willing to go for 3 stopovers along the way? These are all questions about who am I right now? What is my current situation? And then, where next? Based on this combination of where to and where from, where next, you book your trip. So where next for us? Set your goals. Where to? Know where you're coming from. Assess your strengths. Where next? choose your next step, and then go do it. Go make it happen. Whatever that next thing is, that is the build, measure, learn side of this. But as Radhika said, don't just iterate fast without a direction. Know where you're going. So thank you. This is my LinkedIn, my email. You can email me for anything. This particular QR code has some very special magic with it. It means that you can actually get a free session with me. 45 minutes hanging out with me, talking about your goals, talking about where you are right now, talking about how to get where you want to go next. And if you happen to be a leader, I'm happy to share my annual planning templates with you. It's something I'm working on right now to help people strategy deploy, create structure for their teams so that they can decide in their sphere of influence where to go next based on a vision of where they want to go, based on a larger vision of where the company wants to go, and an understanding of where we are right now. So thank you very much. Good luck in your lives, in building fantastic products, and in becoming incredible product leaders who know when to ask the question and what to answer. Have a great day.